everyone. Thank you for listening to Swoon-Worthy, a podcast dedicated to period pieces, whether it's movies, TV shows, or even musicals set in different time periods. And today we are covering a very well-known, beloved musical, The Sound of Music from 1965. And I'm joined by one of my dearest friends and frequent co-hosts, Stephanie, who you may remember from our Moulin Rouge episode, as well as A Room with a View, Sleepy Hollow, and Gladiator 2. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Yes. Well, hopefully you'll join us for a few more this season. We're in season 4 of Swoon-Worthy,
That's
and
crazy.
I know, and it's been fun. It's been so much fun. So, today, Sound of Music, I feel like this is the perfect movie to discuss with you because I'll never forget one time I was like, Stephanie, what's your favorite movie? And you're like, The Sound of Music. Is that still true?
Yeah. Well, it's always been in the top two for me. It goes back and forth between Jurassic Park and The Sound of Music.
Fair enough.
The Jurassic Park just has like more of a profound impact on my life because I went into science. I worked with animals, specifically birds, which are dinosaurs, and
Yeah.
I've worked with DNA and I worked in a genetics lab, all of that. So I always say that's my favorite, but The Sound of Music is a very close second, and yeah, it's just a lifelong favorite for sure.
Yeah. And you and I, we did dance together way back when. So I know you and I, we've always bonded over musicals. I mean, this one, it's so beloved, like an 8.1 on IMDb. And it was, I think, from what I know, I wasn't alive in 1965, but like a blockbuster success and critical success. Took home
Mm.
5 out of the 10 Oscars it was nominated for, including Best Picture. So we'll have to talk about all of that, the storyline, the costumes. We'll just get into it all. And it's the perfect time to celebrate this movie because it's the 60th anniversary this year. The opening scene is so iconic with The Hills Are Alive, Julie
Mhm.
Andrews coming out there in the meadow, just singing to the mountains. I mean, what a way to start a movie.
Yeah, it's so epic, and the fact that they shot it all on location, actually in the mountains, it's so beautiful. You can't beat it. Like it wouldn't have been the same in a studio with like a corny backdrop, it would have looked so different. But yeah, and I'll never forget her, Julie Andrews, talking about how the helicopter that was shooting that scene just flattened her multiple times. Like
Oh
it
gosh,
just caused her to fall over because the wind was so strong.
that is
That's always a
really
funny
crazy.
picture.
Yes. And I was looking it up too. I was like, I know it's in Austria, but what is, the location? And it was like the Untersberg Mountain, I think.
Yeah, it's
Untersberg,
set in
Untersberg.
Salzburg, but yeah,
Hmm.
the mountains in particular, I'm not sure. And it says
Hmm.
at the beginning of the movie, it's set in the last golden days of the 30s in
Mm.
Austria.
Yeah. Before World War II, which plays a big
Yeah.
part of the storyline. But it's funny too, because this is a movie that I've been watching since I was a child, like VHS,
Mhm.
pop it in, sing
Mhm.
along. But of course, when you're little, you might know some of the context here, but not fully until you're older.
Yeah, that's so true. I think a lot of people too kind of like turn it off before like the last 30 minutes of the movie and just assume they lived happily ever after and leave it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, as an adult, I've gotten really interested in World War II history, and I even volunteered at the National World War II Museum for a couple of
Hmm.
years. So like that part of the movie is actually super interesting to me now.
Yeah.
But also, we can kind of see some of it happening in our own little way. So
Hmm.
it's definitely interesting and it's pretty powerful.
It is. It's very powerful, and we've got to learn from our history. Did you watch this as a kid too, like younger?
Yeah, I think because it played on TV so much,
Okay.
and we watched a lot of TV as a family when I
Hmm.
was a kid. I I definitely watched it a lot. I loved it so much as a kid. My whole family loved it, but I in particular loved it so much. My dad even called me Fräulein Maria. for a long time.
That's
Like,
cute.
that was my
Okay.
nickname up until, like, a few years ago, because I was like, "Can you please stop calling me that in public?"
That's
But,
so funny stuff. I didn't know
I
that about
know.
you. You never
Yeah,
shared that one with me, that
being
nickname.
vulnerable in the pod.
That's what it's about. Yeah. And I remember in elementary school, my music teacher, Miss Patton, who was amazing, would always play the Do Re Mi song because it's so
Mhm.
helpful for children to learn how
Yeah.
to, learn the notes and the scales and all of that. And it's so fun. So that's a very core memory for me, I would say, music class
Yeah.
in elementary
I
school.
love that.
Yeah.
When I was in 5th grade, like, at our little 5th grade graduation, which when we were little, we didn't do the full graduation like all the kids do now with, like, a cap and gown.
Oh, right, right,
It
right.
was kind of like, "Okay, we're leaving," but, we did the "So Long, Farewell." We did
Aw,
that song,
that's
and, it was a
cute.
little program that we put on, so that's so funny. I guess we've all kind of been singing these songs our whole lives.
Yeah. Did you and the first few scenes are so interesting. We get Julie Andrews, we get that she's sort of a problematic nun. She's always running away and enjoying nature. She's not staying close to the Abbey, which is just so funny. And the nun parts, I don't know if they were my favorites when I was younger, but I appreciate them more now. They're so funny too. Some of them stick up for her. Some of them are like, oh my gosh, she needs to go away. One of them, I liked the quote when I rewatched it, the wool of a black sheep is just as warm.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes, I love those scenes too. They are really funny, and,
Yeah.
yeah, just all their little jabs at her, and then that
Yeah.
one that's always sticking up for her, calling her,
Ah.
like, an angel or something. I don't remember what
Aw.
she says, but
And, how do you solve a problem like Maria? That's such a fun song. That'll get stuck in my head often. Like, oh my gosh, clever.
yes. Yeah, it is so fun. And then they later sing it at her wedding, which, whatever. That's kinda weird, but
So weird. I laughed out loud when I rewatched it last night because I was like, wow, can you imagine walking down the aisle? You solve a problem like Maria. I don't know. It was just funny. So I guess I was confused. Like, is she a nun? She's clearly trying to be, and all of the people around her are kind of skeptical, I think, if she's cut out for it.
yeah, and also she's kind of older. I don't know how old she's supposed to be in the film, and I've never read the book by Maria von Trapp,
Right.
her autobiography. So I
Right.
don't know what she was doing leading up to going into the Abbey, but I do wonder.
Yeah. I want to know what Maria's life was like before this, but we'll have
Mhm.
to look into that. She gets sent to become a governess for 7 children, which doesn't sound great at first. I mean, 7 is a lot, but it's perfect for her. And it's perfect for Julie Andrews, who had just done Mary Poppins. I mean, how
Yeah.
perfect of a role.
Yes. Yeah. When I was reading for trivia last night, it said that Julie Andrews would sing Mary Poppins songs to the kids, and they just thought she was making them up because the movie wasn't out yet.
That's so funny. So I guess at this time she didn't know she was going to win the Oscar, the Best Leading Actress Oscar for Mary Poppins. That's funny to think about. Julie Andrews just had no idea.
I know. Yeah. She was pretty new to the movie world
Yeah.
and so young. Yeah. It's so crazy to think that this was just a new role for her. And
Yeah.
she had like two iconic roles back to back.
Yes.
And I also read that Christopher Plummer called
Uh-huh.
her like Miss Disney, and he just like could not stand her at first.
Yeah.
So that's
At
kind of
first, though,
cool.
right? Because they became like really good friends later in life,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. I know there are some beautiful photos taken of the two of them when they were older by Annie Leibovitz for Vanity Fair. But that's interesting that they may not have hit it off right away. I think that vibe, though, is what translated so well into the scene. Because I also read, yeah, he was a bit cynical when it came to this movie, but it kind of works for his character. Captain Von Trapp. So, wow, when they first meet and she's like, "You don't look at all like a sea captain," and he answers back, "Well, you don't look like a governess," and then makes her like turn around for him. Then we get the whistle. I mean, he's so austere and stern at first. Of course, he's super attractive, like right off the bat. As you get older and rewatch The Sound of Music, you really realize just how handsome Captain Von Trapp is. You don't exactly see it when you're younger, but yeah, and there are so many memes out there of how good looking he really is. Very swoon-worthy. I can't imagine what Maria was thinking when she first saw him.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm sure she's just like, who is this person? Um, but I love how she challenges him back. Like, I could never answer to a whistle. Whistles are for dogs. It would be too humiliating. And then he's like, Fraulein, were you this much trouble at the Abbey? Oh, much more, sir.
I know she talks about being far too outspoken, but it's funny how it like gets her in trouble, but we're like so envious of it. Like it's so cool to see how outspoken she was at such a young age and with
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah. She's just sort of an independent spirit. Kind of like, I don't know, maybe like your Joe March, if you're thinking of Little Women. I'm trying to compare her. Um, and she has confidence. Oh, we didn't even talk about I Have Confidence in Me,
Oh, yeah,
that
I love that song
song.
so much.
Oh my
Oh, it's
gosh.
the best.
It's the best. And I'm sure this is probably the most well-known piece of trivia is that her little trip in the courtyard was an accident that they left in.
Yes, I love that.
It's so cute. It's so, I mean, it looks choreographed because it's so perfect. She kind of like slides with her foot
And
up.
also, she's like so perfect all the time. She's like one of the most perfect people ever to exist.
Yes.
And so to know that she actually like fell or tripped, it's just like I love that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's true. Yes. And in our Kayla and I did a my sister and I did a Cinderella podcast episode way in season one. It was like our third one. And we talked about how she was Cinderella for Rodgers and Hammerstein's version of Cinderella. It was like a TV movie that was broadcast and everyone tuned in for her. I just can't even imagine not knowing who Julie Andrews was because like we've grown up with her all our
Hmm.
lives. And then like, but can you imagine just seeing this beautiful, regal lady with the perfect voice on screen?
Yeah, I mean, people must have been blown away by her in that and in My Fair Lady. Like,
Yeah,
she's just so, so talented.
so talented. And we're so lucky we've grown up with her too, because now, she was Princess Diaries and now the voice of Lady Whistledown in Bridgerton.
Yes, she must stay around forever. We love her so much.
I know, I hope so. And then we got to talk about these kids here. The seven kids get introduced with their whistles. They're wearing like that gray with the dark green collars, just like their father. They're in this like military-ish uniform look.
Mm.
And you get Liesel, who's 16, and I don't need a governess. Friedrich, who's 14 and impossible. Louisa tries, no, what is it? Louisa says that she's Brigitte at first. She tries to,
Yes.
but then Brigitte's like, you're smart because Maria saw through that little trick. Kurt, who's 11 and incorrigible. Marta, who's going to be 7 on Tuesday. And Gretel is 5. Okay.
And then Brigitte comes in with her book and gets a little spanking.
Yes, and like that's a meme. So I follow Rodgers and Hammerstein on Instagram and like there's a lot of love for Brigida nowadays, like her mood. Little bookish type. She's so cute. They're all adorable. Oh my gosh.
They actually are. And I know like musicals are tough, and especially a musical with children, like that can be a lot, you know? That can be obnoxious, I guess, for some viewers. But they're all so good in this. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's so funny at times and so like heartwarming at other times and also a little scary at the end and everything. And you just really care about all of them. I think they all do such a great job.
That's a good point. There are some movies with like child parts and I'm like this is annoying. Like why is this? You're very right. Not to sound rude, but yeah, no, it's so right. And then in this one, yeah, very well scripted scenes for the kids, whether they're like playing tricks on Maria in the beginning, or they're scared of the storms, or like when they're lying to the father with the berry picking. Like, I love that. That's so funny.
Yeah, they all stick together too. I'm sure they fight at times, but in the movie they seem to be like a little unit, and I do love that.
Yeah. And exactly what you said, like they're a unit. But then we got Liesel, who of course is the oldest sister. She's 16. And this scene kind of up front that we're getting to after the dinner scene, of course, where Maria makes them feel guilty for the pranks, which is hilarious.
Hmm.
She sneaks off after dinner, Liesel, played by Charmian Carr, and meets up with her little 17-year-old beau, Rolf.
Yes,
Oh
gotta love
my.
Rolf.
Gotta love him. Um, at first, you gotta love him.
Yeah.
He his character, of course, changes a bit over time. You see little snippets of him kind of in the beginning, what he believes or what he's about to kind of put himself in, into the Nazi group here. But at first, he's just this Austrian boy who's flirting with Liesel. He calls her a baby a little bit. But then they have this song, I Am 16 Going on 17. This was my favorite scene as a young girl. Like, oh my gosh, ideal dream dress, dream scene. I was just like, I'm gonna grow up one day and be like Liesel.
Yeah, I think we all wanted to be her, especially probably little girls like us who are like brunette. And
hmm
yeah, I loved it too as a kid. It's very dreamy.
Yeah. The gazebo scene is what I always thought of it as. And like, she's just dancing with this cute little blonde boy. They're flirting. It's very innocent, very, they end with a little kiss. Um, and just, I don't know, this was just the perfect scene, like the storminess, the jumping from the leaping on the benches, and I wanted to
Hmm.
be her. And that dress, it's like a pink, but I feel like it has lilac undertones, like a little purple hue versus
Hmm.
like red or I just think it's the sweetest dress.
Yeah, it is really pretty. And with the lighting and everything in the gazebo, how
hmm
it's sort of, you can see through it a little bit, and it just looks really pretty. Everything in this movie, I don't know if we were going to get to this later, but like everything is so well lit in this
Yeah.
movie. Everyone glows
Yeah.
at all times. It's really incredible. It's just so beautiful to look at. That's what I was noticing last night. I think I was coming at it like trying to notice things I had never noticed
hmm
before, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this movie is so beautiful. Like every single
Yeah.
shot is so pretty."
No, that's a good point. And with the gazebo scenes, especially like this one and the one where Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer are singing to each other, like their silhouette with the light in the background. It's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. So let's talk a little bit since we're talking about costuming and lighting and all that. So the five Oscars that it won, Best Director Robert Wise, who took it home for the West Side Story movie a few years before that. So
Mhm.
sound, editing, and scoring of music or treatment. So it wasn't Rodgers Hammerstein winning the Oscar. It was like Erwin Kostel, who I guess took their songs, made it a music score for the movie, and it works so well. You get all of the songs kind of coming back in through the music score.
Mhm.
And I was a little sad that the costumes, were nominated but didn't win by Dorothy Jenkins. But this is a three-time Oscar winner before this, so
Yeah, that's incredible.
yeah.
Yeah, it could have easily won everything. It's just
hmm
so perfectly done. I feel like
Yeah.
everything in this movie is so solid. But yeah, I'm glad that it did win the 5 Oscars that it did win.
hmm Yeah. All right. And then, oh, one more thing though with this gazebo scene with Liesel. What it the only thing I would change is like the wee at the end that where she sounds like a pig squealing. Like that's not my favorite. Like, what couldn't they have done a cuter little sound? Maybe it's just supposed to be funny and musical. Like, what do you
What
think?
if she was like embarrassed about that for the rest of her life?
I mean, honestly though, like, what would your natural reaction be to your first kiss? Wouldn't it be just like, oh,
Yeah,
sigh, like not like wee? I don't know.
I know. I wonder whose choice that was. I don't know. It is funny, but yeah, I agree with you. It could definitely change.
Yes. But before this, Rolf had been saying like your father is so Austrian. It's just like we're all Austrian. Um, well, some people think we ought to be German and they're mad at those, who don't think so. I mean, this is it's like this undertone of like seriousness throughout the movie that's ominous because we know what happens and just pretty powerful, like you said earlier.
Yeah. And also, it was filmed only 25 years after this really happened. So, still, like, can you imagine? It's
Yeah.
not very long. I mean, that would be like the year 2000,
Yeah,
you know, for us.
that is weird.
So,
Yeah, it's
it's
like
really
it.
crazy to like think about that.
Yeah, that is strange. I didn't think about that. Um, with the storyline, the next scene, of course, is another iconic one where Maria, um, it starts off she's praying before bed, which is cute, and I love the God bless what's his name because she can't remember good old Kurt.
Kurt?
And then the storm happens, and well, no, first Liesel comes in from the rain. She climbs in the window. She's soaked. Maria plays it off perfectly, like becoming that friend and confidant that Liesel obviously needs in her life. I mean, she just, the character Maria had just such a instinct for how to work with these kids, which is
Hmm.
adorable. And then, the storm brings all the other children in, and we get our Raindrops on Roses song. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so pretty.
I think this might be one of my absolute favorite scenes. I was thinking that last night because I always thought of how comfortable her bed looks with that big fluffy comforter. I always wanted it so bad, and I just always thought it just looks so safe, like her
Yeah,
room.
yeah.
And it's cute to see how quickly the kids warm up to her, and you could tell that they really did love Julie Andrews.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just such a cool scene, and the way it's choreographed and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's just really fun. I love it. All the way up until the captain comes in and she like is surprised
Yeah.
by him. It's so funny.
It is funny, and I feel like it always catches me off guard too, because you get into the song because we just know it so
Mhm.
well, and it's such a beautiful, like fun song. They make it a Christmas song sometimes nowadays, and I still don't really get that.
I was gonna say that too.
Or
Like it's now become a Christmas song, and I don't know why.
just because they reference like Christmas once or twice. But yeah, so he comes in and it's like, whoa, he's still just being super hardcore and just ruins the fun here. Um, but luckily they get to bond with Maria right then. Oh, I always love the back to the song, the crisp apple strudel. Like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah,
line
makes you
makes me
hungry.
makes me hungry. Um, and then and then the kids are like naming other things that make them happy. And then like, is it Gretel who says like Pussy Willow? Like that's a choice.
Yeah,
Anyways.
yeah. We wouldn't say that today, probably in a movie, but yeah.
So cute. And she argues, with the captain. They're still children because she wants to make them play clothes, and he's like, no, no, no. Then we get a very Gone with the Wind moment where she sees those curtains, and she's like, "Yep, gonna make some clothing out of these curtains here, and they're green too, so that's kind of fun." Um, yeah. I wonder, like, how often in history were curtains made into clothes? Probably a lot.
I guess so. I mean, it seems like it. Yeah. It's fun to see like her dresses that she made herself with the fabric that the maid gave her. Frau
Hmm.
Schmidt, I think is her name. Um, but yeah, I mean, wow, Maria was a very skilled seamstress to make all of these costumes because she made them
Yeah,
fast and
I know.
they fit very well.
Yes, very fast because, and of course, in the movie, it transitions right to the kids kind of, filing out of the gate with their clothes on. The captain's gone away, to Vienna or something, and so they're getting to be kids and play and sing with Maria. Um, Straight off to another iconic scene in the meadow, teaching the kids how to sing, do re mi. Um, and then that whole choreography in the town where they're riding their bikes, they're in the little horse cart, the fountain, the steps, like this is the perfect like musical movie number.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it so much. It's just so epic, and the ending of it is so
Hmm.
good. But yeah, I was reading last night. The movie itself only took like 5 months to film, which is
Okay.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like, that's not very long for how long this movie is.
Yeah.
But that section, the Do Re Mi
Yeah.
section, took like 2 months.
No way.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Because they had so many
That's crazy.
locations.
Yeah. Well, their hard work paid off because it's like this might be one of my favorite scenes. I get kind of like, I get the feels for it when I'm watching it because just the way they end up harmonizing and, I just love it. I love it so much. And then Julie Andrews hitting those high notes at the end and
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. And all the choreography, like you said, and just getting to see them all around this beautiful, beautiful city. It's just the best. I love it so much.
Yeah. Salzburg. It makes me really want to go on that tour.
I know. I want to go so bad. Our
Yeah.
friend Catherine went when she was a little kid, and she's always like, "Man, I wish I could have gone when I was older so I could appreciate it more."
Yes, and should we tell the story of how she got to pick out a souvenir? Do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
And she's like, nowadays I would have picked a really cool souvenir, but instead she came home with one of those big pencils that you would like get at like Claire's or icing or whatever. It was like I don't know if it was had an I can't remember what the print was on the giant pencil, but like not the best souvenir for international travel, probably.
Oh, so good.
So funny. And another really great transition because the kids are having fun, the father's away, but then we see Captain Von Trapp or Georg coming home with some friends. So he's got the Baroness Schrader and Max, and they're coming back to the villa and they're talking about the Salzburg Folk Festival a little bit, which is really cool. Good way of introducing it with Max trying to like listen to the choir and be like, I'll have to spot some local talent. And then they see the local urchins in the trees, which we're like, I mean, again, it's been so many years since I saw it for the first time, but I'm sure at first we were like, those are the kids. Oh my gosh. Um, but he doesn't know that. And the Baroness and the captain are kind of walking around the villa for a bit before the kids come back home. She's wearing the Baroness, okay, elegant, beautiful lady. Totally
Hmm.
love her costumes in this. Wow.
Hmm. Yes. This like red jacket and skirt with the polka dot top and all the pearls. I was obsessed with that for so long. I don't know, even at like certain parts of my life where I've always been a tomboy, always. I thought I could pull that outfit off. Like,
But I think you look good. You look good in like a 40s vintagey look. Like,
well, thank you.
yeah.
That's very nice. I do love that era of fashion. I
Yeah.
think you know that, which is why you say that too. But yeah, it's just like the silhouettes are so beautiful, and yeah, she looks incredible in all of them. But love this first look.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. She's so posh and elegant. I mean, also always thinking about like The Parent Trap and all these other movies where you have the woman who's trying to marry the single widower, um, the widower, and then like send the kids off to boarding school. This is like a trope. This is like a common thing we've seen. And I always associate her with like, what's that other movie with the twins, Mary Kate and Ashley? Um,
Oh, I don't know. I didn't
the one
watch
with
their
Kirstie
movie.
Alley. Did you ever watch the one with Kirstie Alley?
No, I never
It
watched their
Takes
movie.
Two. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But yeah, there's always like the blonde, beautiful, but bitchy lady
Who doesn't like kids?
who doesn't like kids. And she plays it like she likes kids, but she doesn't. So this is the Baroness to a T, looks amazing. Um, and then we have the kids rowing down the river in their little boat. They get excited when they see their father and it capsizes, and that's a funny scene. And I mean, I think they really played that scene off. I mean, like they must have really shot it that way because they're dripping wet.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I read that little Gretel didn't know how to swim, and so like
Oh,
someone had to save her, and it was supposed to be Julie Andrews, but she went on the other side of the boat
yeah.
accidentally.
Oh
So she
no.
felt really bad about that.
Poor little
But
Gretel.
yeah, I know. But Louisa got her, so she was fine. But yeah, that's it's such a funny scene, and the
Yeah.
Baroness is just like judging hardcore.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's a little crazy, you think about Julie Andrews, she's just like her clothes are all like stuck to her from being in the water, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is interesting little meeting moment here. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, at this point, Georg or Captain Von Trapp, that name is so funny to me, I don't know why. Um, he like he must be attracted to her like Maria, but of course no signs of that yet. And they get into this heated argument. They send everyone away. It's just the two of them. It's a very passionate argument. Like they're going at it.
Hmm.
Um, and he he fires her, but then the sound of the sweet little children's voices kind of come through singing The Hills Are Alive. And it's like this spell is like broken because he becomes, part of this again. He sings with his kids, and he's like, "You brought music back in the house with," he says that to Maria, and he
Hmm.
apologizes, asks her to stay. So that whole moment for him is such a character, growth moment. And we
Yeah.
get to see the softer side of Captain Von Trapp.
Yeah, a side that clearly the kids haven't seen in a really long time, or maybe ever for some of them, who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really beautiful. I think he's just like so mad at first because he was embarrassed. And for a man like that to be embarrassed, it's probably like the worst thing in the world. And so that's why he was so angry. But I think he's had affection for Maria for a long time before this,
Okay.
honestly, like from that first meeting when she was like bowing in the ballroom.
Yes.
But
Okay.
he's good at hiding it for
He's
sure.
been hiding it. Because it sounds like he had already known about the Baroness or met her before. He went to go see her again, maybe cultivate that relationship and bring her home to meet them. Yeah, as you said, he must have been embarrassed. And the other thing you said about the kids not seeing his softer side, I always, because later on when there's doing the Edelweiss song and like Liesel
Mhm.
like sits down and sings with him, I always imagine it like she maybe saw the old him. She was old
Mhm.
enough to see him when he was, when the wife was still alive. And I don't know, do you get that too?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's why there's a lot of emphasis on her because I think all of this is hardest on her because she's like so aware of everything.
Hmm.
She knew her mother the best because she had the most time with her and yeah, she's seen the change in her father and she's also a young lady. She's growing older, so she she needs a lot more attention than what she's getting.
Yes. Yeah, it would have been different if her mom had been alive still. And it was earlier when the maid had kind of threw that in like, he doesn't sing anymore, or he doesn't allow music in the house or something because of his sadness for his wife. I can't remember exactly what she says, but yeah.
Mhm.
That was a nice little throw in there for the audience and for for Maria. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's a really magical moment. And then I guess he just does a complete 180 because he allows this puppet show to happen.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the puppet show. Okay, puppets are scary, that's a fact. But I do love this song and this scene. I'm
Mhm.
only slightly scared by these puppets and their eyebrows and their cheeks. And what do you, I mean, is this only me? Am I the only one afraid of these puppets?
It's probably not only you. I was never afraid of them. I kind of like them. I think
Uh-huh.
they're cute. I think the goats are cute.
The goats are cute. I like the goats. The
Okay, you like
people,
the
the
goats.
people are scary.
Okay, and that's understandable. Yeah, yeah. I'm not a huge puppet show or marionette person myself,
Yeah, you're right.
but
They're probably more marionettes. You're right.
I understand that was a thing back then. A very elaborate set. Like, did they just have that in storage? Like,
Yeah. Well, Max, it seems like Max maybe got it for them, but then he's like, he sent the bill to the captain. I think there's a line there, like, because he's so funny. I do like that character. He's very opportunistic,
yeah.
Max.
He talks about
Um,
money every single time he speaks. He's talking about money. Like, it's so crazy.
yeah, a little bit of a stereotypical character kind of thing, like, but it is funny for this. Um, no, I do love the scene. The song is so the yodeling. I mean, Julie Andrews' voice is
Mhm.
amazing again, and
Mhm.
it's a cute scene. I do love it.
It is really cute. Yeah, her voice really shines in this because it's not an easy song to sing, of course.
But you know
Um,
who can also sing this song? Gwen Stefani.
what? Oh, wait.
Right? Doesn't she do that song that's like this song? Hold
Oh,
on.
I probably blocked it from my mind if she did. I
Hold on, hold on. Yeah, that one album, Wind It Up. Hold on. Yeah, Wind It Up from the Sweet Escape album.
Mhm.
It's like an ode to this song.
Is it really? Oh my gosh. I'm
Sorry.
sure I know of it, but for some reason it's not coming to my head.
You probably did block it out, but
There
yeah.
is a YouTube video that I'm obsessed with of Jonathan Groff performing. It's like a cabaret style performance, and he
Uh-huh.
sings a mashup of The Hills Are Alive and The Lonely Goat Herd. And it's so good and so funny and so charming. I just love it so much. So that's what I think of is Jonathan Groff, this random YouTube video that I've probably watched like 1,000 times.
That's so funny. Well, I need to watch that and yeah, unfortunately I think of Gwen Stefani. No.
Oh no.
No, because she also in that same album does If I Were a Rich Girl, which is like Fiddler on the
Hmm.
Roof. So maybe she's just an avid fan or whoever wrote the song.
Musical theater fan Gwen Stefani.
Oh my gosh. And Maria in this scene is wearing this like aqua blue or teal blue, flowy, kind of like a big floral print, but it's like subtle. She looks spectacular in this color.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's so beautiful. Where did she get that fabric? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I didn't see that when Schmidt lady brings in the stack of cloth. Hmm.
Yeah, maybe some
Well,
other curtains.
or maybe she did. Okay, so we don't know how long Captain Von Trapp's been away. Maybe she did get some wages and like bought a pretty dress for herself in
Yeah,
town with the
true.
kids.
Yeah, true.
Backstory, we're creating it here. Um, but this is the dress where because then Christopher Plummer is no, not Christopher. Well, okay, okay. Captain Von Trapp is singing, which by the way, I thought it was him all along, and I was very sad when I learned that his voice was dubbed.
I know, because that voice fits him so well. I want to know what his actual voice sounded like when he
It's
recorded.
it's on Instagram.
Oh, is it?
It's on YouTube and Instagram. You can find it. He sounds fine. Like
Mhm.
a lot of the comments I read, people were like, "I wish they had kept it because it sounds very genuine and authentic and he sounds fine." So I this time period, they were still dubbing people. They were dubbing poor Audrey Hepburn and My Fair Lady without her knowing. I mean, like calm down people. We are okay if their voices are not I mean, obviously it's hard to be Julie Andrews' voice. But like,
Yeah.
anyways, it was sweet. But all along, it does sound like his voice, though. Am I right?
Yeah, it really does. They did such a good job of matching it, but I wonder if he was mad or relieved when
I
they
don't
dubbed his voice.
know. I think I read that he like had worked hard on it, which is kind of like what Audrey did too.
Mm.
So a little, yeah, but yeah, listen back to it. It's really interesting to hear them. But anyways, he sings Edelweiss, the character does, and he and Maria are just making eye contact like crazy.
Yes, yeah. Two things about this scene.
Okay.
First of all, love Liesel's green dress, was
Oh,
forever obsessed with that
yeah.
dress. It's so, so pretty.
Hmm.
And yes, what you said about them making eyes at each other and the acting of Baroness Schrader, seeing them, like, I love all of the little subtle moments in this
Yeah.
movie. I mean, maybe they're not so subtle, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think there's so much good acting in this movie.
Mhm.
All of the little looks, and it's just all so believable.
Hmm.
And she's such a good villain because she's so beautiful and she's smart, and
Yeah.
I don't know, I loved it.
Yeah, she's not dumb by any means.
Yeah.
She's a little manipulative, conniving, but
Mhm.
that's what you want in this kind of character. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
she knows what's going on here. Um
Mhm.
and then yeah, well said about Liesel's dress too. It's so cute. And then cut to the kind of the next scene, the party scene, and Liesel's wearing another pretty frock. It's like white with a yellow sash, little bow.
Mhm.
And then I noticed like there's some white flowers on the bow around her waist, and I'm wondering if that's like Edelweiss or whatever.
Yeah, it might be. I didn't look too closely at those, but I bet you it is.
Yeah. And I love all of the lengths of Liesel's dresses
Mhm.
because I'm always someone, especially when I was young, I always liked shorter skirts, like not full, because I'm short, so I think I always liked that kind of length. I just love, I don't know, just side note, love all of her dresses and the length of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, like we were saying, like that late 30s, early 40s time period of dresses was just like the best for dresses.
So cute. But then in this scene too, we have the Baroness looking amazing in a gold number with this like
Mhm.
white meshy fabric that kind of does another bow. She's big on the bows, the side bows, which is kind of the time period appropriate, probably the white gloves. So regal, so pretty. And when okay, the dance scene, the most
Yeah.
romantic, this is the most romantic sweet scene between Maria and Captain Von Trapp.
It's so good. Oh, I love it so much. She starts out dancing with Kurt, and it's hilarious. She's like explaining to them that it's Austrian folk dance, and she's demonstrating it to them. And then, yeah, he just steps in like a prince in a fairy tale, and it's
Yes.
like, it's oh my gosh, it's so good. The chemistry is so there, even if he hated her, like it does not show.
Yeah, no, the chemistry is there. Like when you're watching that scene, you're almost like, oh, I'm watching something a little intimate here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the way he cuts in and they're so perfectly in sync. Like they dance so well. And then when they kind of like pull away and she like touches her cheeks because they're red, it's like, ah. And then of course everyone's looking, the kids and the Baroness. It's a little awkward, but very romantic and
Yeah.
beautiful.
And again, like they're just all glowing, as I talked about earlier, like just the way everything is lit and the way that you can see them looking into each other's eyes and everything. Oh, it's just so good.
It is so good. And um, then we get the So Long Farewell number that we talked about earlier a bit. Loved this one growing up as a kid for sure.
Mhm.
I think my sister and brother and I would like act it out. Um, and as you said, you acted it, y'all did it for the graduation. It's just it kind of fits in a lot of scenarios. So it's probably a very used song by
Yeah.
people. Um, And I love when Liesel's like, taste, take my first champagne. And it's like, yes? No. Cute.
Yes. And Kurt's little soprano moment.
Adorable and silly. Of course, this is where the politics really start kind of ramping up in the movie.
Mhm.
It's kind of at the halfway mark, and we get Herr Zeller, who is just being totally awful. Because it looks like a nice party, and the Austrian flag, if I'm not mistaken, is hanging.
Mhm.
And um, I think Captain Von Trapp, like talks to another Baron and Baroness, and they're all happy. And then this Nazi guy is just being such a buzzkill, so awful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely start to feel like the evil come into play here a little bit, and that's when things change, like you said, and we get a little more serious.
Yeah, so speaking of that and like evil villain, like Herr Zeller is definitely a villain. The Baroness, do we think she is on the side of the good? Is she, do we know? We don't know. Or you think she's evil? Like Nazi evil?
I don't think she's evil. Evil, I think she is complicit. I think she'll do whatever the other high society people do,
Yeah,
which usually is slightly evil, right?
I
Like
got you. I
being
got you.
complicit in this case is evil. So yeah,
Got you.
I do think that they probably did not feel the same about politics and what was happening.
Yeah, they weren't like strong in their convictions like Maria and Captain Von Trapp will be. Okay, I got
Yeah,
you. I was just wondering about that because they don't get really into that, but I think when I was younger, I pictured her as like I associated her with the bad people, even though it's not
right.
very clear. And then Max, of course, is also a little bit kind of I don't know. If he's ended up staying there, I could see him easily getting swayed because he's probably like goes where the money goes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he does eventually help them, of course. He wants them to get out, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's a clip that's been circulating. There's a lot of clips, about the Nazi stuff that have been circulating on social media, but there's one where um, Captain Von Trapp is telling Max, like, you have to care about politics at this
Yeah.
point. So yeah, I think Max and the Baroness, they're just not affected, so they don't care, which is a big
Hmm.
problem that we're seeing right now. So yeah, and
Hmm.
it's unfortunate, but yeah.
You're right. There is an exchange between them where he's like, you've got to choose a side. Basically, you can't just be wishy-washy in this moment. You're right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we'll see. Max, you never know how he came out. Max Detweiler. And I was like, how is he related to them? And so I looked up. So they call him Uncle Max, but I don't think he's related. He's just friends, music producer, and self-serving, lacking in moral fortitude is how they describe him online.
Yeah.
But they say he genuinely cares for the family, is what.
Yeah, seems like he does. And I believe in the stage show, I can't remember. I've seen it
Oh,
twice,
have you?
so I should remember this, but I feel like he and Elsa or the Baroness, I feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
they
Elsa.
are more connected. Like they have songs and stuff in the
Oh,
show,
I need to look
but
that up.
I can't remember.
That's so funny. Yeah, I haven't actually seen this outside of the movie. So I'll have to look that up too. Hmm.
Yeah. Fun fact for you. I was looking up to see when the musical debuted because I didn't
Yeah.
know. It debuted in 1959 on Broadway,
Oh.
which was about 6 years before this came out. And it debuted in the Lunt-Fontanne Theater, where you and I saw Sweeney Todd.
Oh, how
Isn't that
fun.
cool?
That is cool. Ugh. These Broadway show theaters are so amazing, like the history and like when you're there, you just everything feels old and I'm so glad they haven't remodeled them and stuff.
Yeah, I know. All the shows, all the people who have been on those stages, it's so crazy to think
Very
about.
crazy.
But yeah,
Oh, that's
a
a
lot of
good.
history.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm glad you found that. And this scene, so Maria is kind of told by Max and kind of coerced into maybe joining them at dinner. So she goes upstairs. Elsa, I'm glad you reminded me of her first name. Love and Elsa. Goes up there and it's like being really manipulative here. Like, oh, well,
Mhm.
he just couldn't take his eyes off you the other night in this dress. You should wear that dress. And Maria's feeling guilty because she was sent here kind of on God's errand to help the kids. And this was not part of the plan. Life happened. And she's just not knowing how to deal with this. So she flees. She goes
Yeah.
back to the Abbey.
Yeah, you can't blame her.
No. Like she wasn't prepared for this to fall in love and to have someone reciprocate that. So she's just like, I'm gonna peace out and not break up this impending engagement here. Um, and we get our intermission.
Yeah.
Get the intermission and nowadays you can fast forward through that intermission if you want to, which I did last night. And we have Maria back at the Abbey, I think is where it picks up, right?
Yes. Yeah, I believe that's where it picks up. And we see her going to meet the Reverend Mother and talk with her. And she's talking about how she's been unhappy. And something I had never noticed before last night, there's a young woman who's there
Yeah.
talking to the Reverend Mother, and she's wearing the dress that Maria later wears
Yes.
when she leaves.
Yes. That's such a great moment.
It's such a pretty dress too.
Yeah.
Like it like glows the color of it. It's so pretty.
Hmm.
But yeah, I love that. And yeah, then we get climb every mountain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a beautiful song. Very, very like uplifting. And this actress was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Peggy
Hmm.
Wood, I think is the name.
Yeah, I read something about her about how she like struggled with the timing of the lip
Mm,
syncing. Yeah, they had to like lip sync to their recordings, and that
gotcha.
was difficult for her, I think, to like come in at the right time.
Fair enough. I could see that being a little challenging. Maria comes back. I love the way she comes back because the kids are down about her leaving. They're singing My Favorite Things, which I realize now I called it Raindrops and Roses earlier. It's called My Favorite Things. But you know what I'm talking about. And that's such a great like re-entrance. And I mean, Captain Von Trapp is shook when he sees her. He's like, I never stopped loving you is what I'm thinking in my head. Like,
Hmm.
and the Baroness is like, damn it.
Yes, like her awkward interactions with the kids before this are
Oh
so
yeah.
funny. Like they're like playing with the ball, and she's so good at playing this character.
It's true.
Um, but yeah, I love when she comes back. I love all the moments where he is so stoic and he's trying to be, but he's so bothered and you can tell. And it's just really great. He's really good at like giving like very subtle
Hmm.
little emotions with his face
Yeah, the acting
and his
is
body language.
there. Yeah, and he's like staring at her later that night, like, come on, like, oh my gosh. Yeah, and you have to give props to Elsa, who she leaves in a very tasteful way. She's like she kind of throws her hands up in the air like I can't do this. So she's very elegant the way she leaves, I think.
Yeah, it's such a mature conversation. I was thinking about last night. Like they both know exactly what's going to happen when they're on that balcony, and it is kind of heartbreaking, and you do appreciate her because
Yeah.
she's doing the right thing and she's giving up this, life on this in this villa, and she does it because she knows that they love each other. So,
Hmm.
props to her.
Yeah, she's not like totally evil. I feel like she gives it one final little chance, but then she's like, no, no, no. And then she looks pretty again in red. And yeah, she just, as you said, a mature exit. And then we get this other gazebo scene where it's like a declaration of love scene between Von Trapp and Maria. Beautiful lighting. She's wearing the teal blue number again. And
Hmm.
yeah, the colors in the scene are fantastic.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's such a romantic scene, and hearing that they both clearly have had, not so great pasts and have dealt with a
Hmm.
lot in their lives, and now they're realizing like, oh, I think going forward things are going to be okay. It's
Yeah,
very sweet.
it's a sweet song, but they must have done something good somewhere in their youth and childhood.
Yes. Yes.
I Another moment in the gazebo scene that I would just like omit is the boop. Like, do you really need to give her a little boop on the nose? It's just so unsexy to me.
Yeah, a little patronizing or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything else about the scene is great, and then I'm just like, "Ugh, don't do that. Anyways. Cut to the wedding scene. Beautiful, amazing, stunner of a wedding dress. Wow.
Yeah, like my dream wedding dress as a kid. I don't dream of weddings. I probably will never get married, but like if I could, I would want to look like that. Like it's so beautiful.
So beautiful. Yes. The long sleeves. It's very fitted here.
Hmm.
And like the high collar, but it's kind of got a split there.
Hmm.
Um, I looked it up, I was like, what is the material? It is silk.
Yeah,
It is
it
a
looks
silk. Yeah.
it looks very thick.
Yes, it says silk shentung, which I don't know. I'll have to look into that material a bit more, but yeah, it's got a silky shimmer to it, but yeah, thick. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kate Middleton's wedding dress kind of had the
Hmm.
same silhouette, which is
Hmm.
why I liked it. So kind of
Yes,
cool.
100%. I definitely think of Kate Middleton's dress and maybe even Grace Kelly's a bit. They're more
Oh,
lacy, those two, but still with the like the
mhm.
long sleeves. Um, and I think Grace Kelly was married to the Prince of Monaco
Monaco.
fairly recently in this, because I think I read somewhere that Grace Kelly was considered for the part of the Baroness, but she had already
Oh, wow.
married. So beautiful. And then the veil is very long and
Hmm.
elegant. And then the green ivy or, leafy crown.
Hmm. So pretty.
So pretty. And then she walks down the aisle to How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? But the choir's singing it. It's got the organ music, I think. It's a choice.
It's a choice. Hopefully she's not hearing it.
Right. Um, and yeah, then it's pretty much straight from that scene to they're on their honeymoon, so we don't see them for a bit. Max is with the children, preparing for the music festival against Georg's wishes, of course. But then this is like, so is this where you think that people might cut the movie after the wedding?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think this is where I used to stop watching it, to be honest,
Yeah.
because yeah, this is kind of like where it's happy and they're calling her mother and everything, and then immediately is when he gets that letter
Yeah.
saying that he's been called into service. So yeah, it goes downhill from here.
Goes downhill. Um, and because it's like they're integrating like what's going on in real life, the Third Reich, the flags, it reminds me also of like Cabaret and how it's this
Mhm.
musical that kind of separately when you look back, you think about all the amazing songs and the
Mhm.
maybe the love aspect, but really it's a greater historical context.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another one that I think has become so relevant lately, not just because it's on Broadway, but because yeah, it mirrors a lot of what's going on, and it's so powerful. It really is,
Mhm.
and yeah, I love it. That's one of my all-time favorite musicals, one of my all-time favorite movies. So
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah. The scene of Captain Von Trapp like ripping the flag, the Nazi flag, that's iconic. That's like,
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
very much so. That's definitely circulating a lot on social media.
oh yes, yes. And then it's kind of become apparent that they need to get out of Dodge. They need to escape right now.
Yeah.
So I love how they're very there's no wishy-washiness. They're like, we're gonna leave tonight. We have to. There is that exchange too between Liesel and Maria first. And like you said, they're
Mhm.
calling her mother. She's a little upset about Rolf, but yeah, we'll see him again in a few scenes.
Boo, Rolf. You
Yeah. Ugh,
stink.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved how Maria said to Liesel, "We can't ask your father to be less than what he is."
Ooh, that's a
And
good
I
one.
really loved that. Like she sees the man that he is and that he is going to stand up for what's right, and she
Mhm.
like of course is with him all the way. I thought that was a really beautiful way of saying that.
Yeah. And I almost imagine them talking about it a bit on their honeymoon because like they know what's happening,
Hmm.
the Anschluss or whatever, and like they're probably just like maybe they are planning some plan A, plan B, this is what we got to do if this happens. Because I think she also says like I didn't expect it to be this soon.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be so scary.
So
All of
scary.
these people, I mean, they were super wealthy and he
Right.
had this high standings, but can you just imagine, what everybody was going through at that time? And oh, it's so crazy.
So crazy.
So they end up doing the music festival after all, and we get to watch their performances, and it's very lovely, but there are Nazis everywhere waiting to escort them out. And it's a little eerie.
It is. So you can see also why kids might not want to watch this scene because it's just scary. It is really
Yeah.
like, are they going to get caught? It's a great cover. Like, thank goodness that festival was that same night.
Yeah.
Because it's the perfect cover and they do the farewell, so long farewell and they kind of trickle off. Um, they escape to the Abbey,
Hmm.
which you gotta love these convents and abbeys. There's so many like period dramas and I'm thinking of Les Mis where it's like that's like a refuge, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Nuns are cool.
talk about cool when they I've sinned and they're messing with the car.
Yes, yeah, she straight up took some parts out of their cars. Like she could have gotten seriously punished for that, but it's just like almost funny. It's
It is. No, it's like a little
very funny.
lighthearted moment here at the end of this one. At the end of this scene, these scenes are so scary. So they're trying to hide in this like churchyard, church graveyard type thing behind some headstones.
Hmm.
And they really prolong the scene. They're like really searching for him. And then
Yeah.
of course our young Rolf guy gets he kind of hears Liesel gasp, I think, right?
Hmm.
Again, his acting is really good because you can see him kind of like, oh, I think I heard something. I'm gonna hide for a sec.
Hmm.
Um, and they let the kids and Maria go, and then he's like, we don't need them. We need you. But, luckily, Captain Von Trapp kind of knows how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very tense though.
It's
Rolf pulls
tense.
out his gun and everything, and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he gets
And I
away.
th I think I misremembered it too for a long time. Like I almost thought that he let them go because I guess in my head I was like, oh, he let Liesel go because he loves Liesel. Your childlikehood self is like thinking it differently. But no, he was a scared little boy and he was not
Yeah.
strong and he uh he immediately calls for them to go chase them, I think. Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because I always thought the same thing. I
Did
don't know
you?
why, but in my mind, because I always turn the movie off at this point,
Yeah.
I always thought in my mind that like they found them in the dark or something and he had a flashlight and
Uh-huh.
he like just let them go.
I
But
thought so
like
too.
here we go trying to make Rolf a hero and he's not, you know?
No, or this is like a
He's
Mandela effect. No.
yeah.
That's
Is that
so funny.
crazy?
Yeah, we're misremembering. But yeah, I think when you're a young girl and you're seeing like this little romance between teenagers, maybe you just think good prevails in the end with the romantic lead, but no, it doesn't.
He was a goner.
He was Connor. So they get away. Then they kind of cut to the nuns, and then it cuts to the final scene, which is them escaping over the Alps, the Austrian
Hmm.
Alps, which is a majestic moment. I mean, with the scene, climb every mountain, reprise. It's like very beautiful. And I love the way they shoot the nature scenes at the opening and the closing, like kind of,
Yeah.
you
With the
know,
helicopter.
yeah, there you go.
When they're shooting them, walking over the mountain, you can see the downdraft from the helicopter and all the grass. It's so funny.
Oh my gosh. But and then I kind of also forgot that this was a real family for a long time. And I remembered again like a few years ago. Oh yeah, this is based off a real story. Like I don't know why. I just totally forgot. And
Yeah.
so I did read that like um they may have been able to take a train and like
Hmm.
more stable transportation than just like walking through the Alps.
Yeah, they didn't have to literally climb a mountain. They just took a train to Italy is what I read. But
Yeah.
I guess climb every mountain and climbing a mountain kind of fit in together, so
Hmm.
that's what they did.
Hey, it's a perfect cinematic ending.
Yeah.
Um, and they did get to make it to America, where they
Hmm.
did continue singing and touring,
Yes.
and eventually settled in Stowe, Vermont, and opened the Trapp Family Lodge,
Yes.
which I'm trying to make my way there because I live in New Jersey, not too far. And like, how cool is that? How cool would that be?
Yeah. You gotta go. That'd be
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, definitely on my list, especially after relearning that they were a real family. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. I wonder if family members still work there. I'm assuming they do.
I think they might be buried over there too.
Oh, wow.
I
That's
think so.
crazy.
Or at
I
least
bet
were.
it's really pretty out there, mountainous
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. I might get a chance to go to Vermont in the next few years for an event. And then I would try to, yeah. And I think it's pet friendly, which is perfect for my, because
Oh,
I have a dog.
yeah.
So, all right, we have covered the movie pretty in depth. We talked about a lot of it. Um, a few final things like I read is Julie Andrews, even though she doesn't really sing Edelweiss, that was one of her favorite songs, or if that might have been her
Hmm.
favorite song from the movie. And then it made me think, I at one point bought a CD and it was like Julie Andrews' favorite Disney songs. And I loved her choices on the CD. And some of them were
Oh,
kind of surprising too. Like, she liked the Dumbo song, which is really sad, like one
aw.
about his mother. For Mary Poppins, she chose the St. Paul Cathedral song, the Feed the Birds.
Yeah, I love that song so
Yeah.
much. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. I think as an adult, you appreciate that song maybe more than when you're a kid.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I love that CD back
That's so
when.
cool. I need to look that up. I never had that, but she really is like a real life Disney princess. I love that
Mhm.
she, kind of became a part of the Disney world and
Hmm.
um yeah, and stayed part of it, I guess, with the Princess Diaries and stuff. Is
Hmm.
that technically Disney?
Yeah, yeah. 100%. And they're making a third.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh. And we got to see some of the things that she wore in real life from the Princess
Yes.
Diaries.
Yes, so Stephanie and I went to this Arlington museum. They had a Disney exhibition, 300 costumes from Disney movies, mostly recent movies. So a lot of the live actions, but I think it what was a tiara from Tiara and Crowns.
Yeah, her tiara. Yeah, they had a bunch of jewelry as well, jewelry and accessories from movies. And yeah, there was a whole like section for the Princess Diaries. They had like Fat Louis stuff, and then they had one of Julie Andrews' tiaras that she wore.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a cool experience. And yeah, I'm glad we went um, to see something that Julie Andrews wore. It's pretty
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
All right. Anything else that you want to call out to our listeners, Steph?
I think we've covered everything. I love this movie so much. I don't know. I feel like some people are unwilling to watch it because they just don't like musicals,
Right.
but it really is just such a beautiful movie. Like last night when I was watching it, my love for it just grew stronger.
Oh, yeah. It's like no matter how many times you watch it, um, and that made me think. So my sister Kayla and I, who you probably know, listeners from our podcast, um, we have a little inside joke too because we put it on two Thanksgivings ago, and my brother just like made a comment during like knowing that we were watching it, he was like, "Oh, this is the most boring movie ever." He's kind of a macho guy. And we were like, okay, every holiday now we have to turn this on just to like ruffle his feathers a bit. Because it's not, it is the opposite of boring, this movie.
Yeah, you'll have to just do a sing along while he's there and just make it extra obnoxious. But yeah, it really is just such a great movie, and I'm interested to hear if other people have like traditions like that
Mhm.
around it, or if other people grew up watching it and loved it even more as they got older, just like we did, because
Yeah.
it's one of those that definitely grows on you as you get older.
Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us on Swoon-Worthy and for chatting with me. Thank you all for tuning into our podcast episode on the sound of music, which will forever be relevant for its beautiful music and acting, but also its historical context set in pre-World War II Austria. We talked about the magic of Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer and Charmian Carr, who is a personal favorite of this movie, of course. Um, the iconic scenes and costuming. Hope you enjoyed our take on the unique aspects of the making of the movie and the romance.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's always fun to talk about movies with you, especially one of our all-time favorites.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll see you soon, Steph, and thank you all. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.